Okay, you can see the screen. So we have discussed about the CMOS. CMOS is basically complementary MOS. So both NMOS and PMOS are there. And this is a NAND logic. We have discussed the layout. That this is the output characteristic of the CMOS. So for NMOS, if your input voltage is high, so this is the input voltage. And if it is higher, then this N MOSFET is on. If it is lower, then P MOSFET is on, right? So if you look at basically the IV curve, you increase the input voltage from 0 to VDD. Let's say this is VDD, right? And VS is this is 0. Just let's say 5 volt. Eh? So your current will basically increase, right? For the NMOS. But if you increase the voltage from 0 to 5, the current through the PMOS will decrease. So let's say this is the gate. Now this gate is common and this is a drain. This is a source for PMOS. This is a source for NMOS. So when input is higher, VGS is positive, you have high current through it. But for PMOS, your VGS, right? Or rather you can say VSG, because gate voltage is negative, right? So we will talk in terms of VSG for PMOS. So if your input is 5, then VSG is 0, right? So for 5 input, VSG is 0, you have very, it's basically in off state. And then if you decrease the gate voltage or input voltage, your VSG increases, right? So current increases. So what we can do, we can combine both these things together. So this is basically for NMOS, we can call it VDS, right? This is basically you can say VDS. And for PMOS, you can say this is basically, sorry, this is, yeah, this is VDS, right? So current will be like this, and current direction is same. And this is basically, this is also VDS, right? Or VSD, you can say for PMOS. And current is same. Now input, basically if input is 0, so for a 0 input, this curve will be like this, and current through the drain will be like this, right? Now when both these curves, this curve 1 and this curve 2, they will intersect, right? Now this, sorry, this is 5, sorry, this is the 2, right? So for 5 volt, you have these two curves here. When they will intersect, now this is higher, this is lower, so they will intersect somewhere near here. So your voltage across NMOS will be small, right? And this can go up to here, right? So voltage across PMOS can be larger. Then if you go to, let's say, 2 volt, right? So they can intersect somewhere in the middle, right? Here, 2 volt, right? So then of course there will be even distribution, right? So let us put them together. Only difference is that this is VDS positive and this VDS will be, they will have opposite direction, right? So you can write voltage across the VDS of PMOS is VDD minus VDS of NMOS. So if this is VDS, this will be VDD minus VDS, right? So you basically have, you can plot them opposite to each other, and their intersection point will give you the output voltage, right? So this is the input voltage, right, for each curve, and the output voltage will be given by this VDS. So this is VDS, right, and at 2.5 is supposed to be VDD by 2. Now there are different mobilities for electron holes, so it may not be exactly VDD by 2, but assuming they are identical, they have identical characteristic, your output characteristic will be symmetrical. So what you have here basically, for a small input voltage, your N PMOS is on, output. For high input voltage, your NMOS is on, output is low. In the middle, there is a sharp transition region. So if you have some input at this point, for a small change in input voltage, you can have a large change in output voltage, right? So this region can also be used for gain purpose. And of course, if you are operating in low ear, high ear, you can use it as a switch also, right? Now we compare the BJT and MOSFET. So in BJT we have RTL logic, right, or TTL logic, resistor transistor logic, or transistor logic. In MOSFET we have CMOS logic. And of course, in case of MOSFET, this gate is not physically connected. There is an oxide there, so current does not flow. So the input current is almost zero, right? That means a MOS output can drive any number of such units, right? Because it does not take any current. So that means your fan out will be quite high. And of course, the transconductance of BJT is usually higher, so they are typically faster. But if you go to today's MOSFET, where the length scale are so low that they operate in ballistic operation. Okay, ballistic is basically it comes from that missile, right, where the initial speed of the missile determines how much time it will take. So similarly, in case of channel where the length is small, the scattering can be, means the length is less than the scattering length, right? Or the time is so low that it is less than the scattering time. So the electrons that are, or carriers that are coming from source to drain, they are not scattered significantly, right? Or is minimal. So this is operation called ballistic. So current is ballistic basically. In such case, you have higher current there. And if you look at the equation, IC is some coefficient times exponential Q V by KT, and GM is IC by KT by Q, or you can say IC by thermal voltage, right? And in case of MOSFET, GM is drain current by VG minus VT by 2, right? So of course, if VG is higher, this will be GM will be less for the same current. Okay. Now let us discuss the non-idealities of MOSFET. So far we have discussed a MOSFET which is ideal. Now in non-ideal MOSFET, first is basically if there is a work function difference, right? Oxide charges are present, threshold voltage is shifted, right? So that we already discussed in MOS capacitor, right? And it is basically same thing. So this is due to the work function difference. This is the fixed charges in oxide. This is basically the potential drop in the semiconductor, and this is due to the depletion charge. Now, as we discussed, there is a channel voltage Vy, right? So this is basically you have plus Vy here, and you have plus Vy here, right? Similarly, if you don't have Vy, you have some body source voltage VBS, right? So between the body and the source there is a voltage, right? And of course this body source is bias, right? So for NMOS or p-type silicon, your body has to be negative, right? So VBS should be less than 0. And if VBS less than 0, then your depletion width will be wider, because the voltage required to this is, let's say, EI, right? This is 2 psi B, this is psi B, this is psi B, and if VSB is there, then this Fermi level will go down. So now this drop should be 2 psi B plus VBS, right? Or you can say minus VBS or VSB. You can write VSB here, right? So now the depletion width will be more. So depletion width will include both the potentials, right? The 2 psi B and this VBS. So this will be little bigger. So this will play a role. But when you write the equation for the current, we write VGS, right? and this is Vg with respect to body. So this Vy is get subtracted. So or VSB here get subtracted. So you only have these two expressions, and this get modified by the substrate, the source body bias. And what will happen if you have a body bias? What will happen to threshold voltage? This term will increase, right? Because VBS is negative. So this term will increase. So your VT will increase. So if you have a body bias, your VT will increase. That means you can control your threshold voltage by applying a body bias, right? That you can see the plot here. So body bias is 0, means that means bulk and the source are connected, right? Then if you apply a voltage here, 1, -1 or -2 volt, your threshold voltage actually increases, right? And if you want to calculate the change in threshold voltage, then you have to subtract the two terms, right? And if now this psi b is order of 0.3 or 0.4 volt, so 2 psi b will be order of 0.6 volt. And then if your VBS is more than 0.6 volt, such as 1 or 2 volt, then you can approximate it. It is more accurate at 2 volt than at 1 volt. And then you have this expression here. So you can basically calculate, take the typical values, 2 epsilon Q Na you can take 10 raised to power 17, right? Q, epsilon semiconductor, right, is 11.9 by Ci, right, or oxide thickness. So you can calculate these values. Maybe you practice 1 or 2 example at the end of the textbook. And this is the change in threshold voltage. What are the equation of current? So equation of current, now we will have to include this term here, right? Earlier we absorbed this term in the threshold voltage. Now we have to put it separately, right? So it is same equation. Q inverse is Cox times Vg minus Vt, of course, which is a function of y, and I, this equation we have discussed. And your Vt is flat band voltage plus psi plus the depletion charge by Cox, and psi x is basically psi s is 2 psi b plus Vy. And now here we have not actually applied the substrate VSB. We have not applied VSB, but we are taking into account the substrate body effect due to the variation in the channel voltage, right? So we are including this charge term here. This charge term we are including, right? So here we have is dependent on the Vy. Instead of VBS, we are taking Vy here, right? So then we have to integrate, right? So if you with dV, what you will get is V to the power 1 by 2, right? So integration will be V to the power 3 by 2. So you will have V to the power 3 by 2. And because the integration limit is from 0 to VDS, right? So for 0 you have only 2 psi b, for VDS you have VD plus 2 psi b, right? And so this is basically same as the IV equation for the normal MOSFET, and this is basically including the body effect. Now body effect will be important at higher voltages, right? So if this part is significant, so what actually affect this? If your channel doping is higher, right, and this VD is higher, so then in those cases this body effect will come into the picture. Otherwise you can approximate with the normal IV curve for MOSFET. Another thing you can note this gate voltage. If you increase the gate voltage, you have a more inversion charge here, but there is a field here, right, which will pull the charge to the interface, right? And when this charge is pulled to the when this charge is pulled to the interface, it will be closer to the silicon oxide and silicon interface, right? Now at the interface there will be more scattering. So as your gate voltage increases, scattering will increase, right? And scattering increase, your mobility will go down, right? So that you can see the plot, mobility versus Vg minus Vt, right? So it actually increases. Sorry, mobility decreases slightly, and that is due to the surface scattering. And we actually define one mobility degradation parameter theta. So mu is given by mu naught y. Mu naught is the bulk mobility. The bulk mobility divided by 1 plus theta times Vg minus Vt to account for this linear dependence, right? Now it appears to depend on the threshold voltage, right? And those threshold voltage basically which are related to the parameters of the MOSFET. But there's a universal mobility degradation curve if we normalize it. So for example, if you calculate this effective field in the middle of the this inversion region, right? So this QD plus QN by 2, right? So whatever is that is E effective, right? And this is your field, and you plot mobility versus this field, right? It is basically independent of other parameters except temperature. So this is called universal mobility degradation parameter. And for the region not so known, for holes, you also get the same curve, but this is basically calculated 1 by 3 of Qn inversion charge. So for hole, the field is calculated here. Then it gives the same curve. And this curve is called universal mobility degradation curve. And of course, now you substitute mu by mu modified. So mu n by 1 plus theta Vg minus Vt, right? And rest of the equation remains same. So this is a universal mobility degradation curve. Now, if you reduce the length of the channel, what will happen? And that we call short channel. Short channel, the concept of mobility does not work, right? Because the field is so high that these carriers move with saturation velocity, right? So if you calculate the current, it will be Q times V, right? And that we found out because this is Q is a charge per unit volume, right? So that becomes W times Q inversion times V. So your basically current will be W C times C ox times Vg minus Vt times saturation velocity. So it will be always in saturation to say, because even a small voltage will give you high field for a short channel lengths. And if you go to modern MOSFET, where the length is even small, we call that one ballistic or quasi-ballistic regime, right? Where the current depends on the initial velocity, right? So this Vs, instead of Vs, we will use V injection velocity, right? So your current becomes, this is W basically, W times C ox Vg minus Vt times V injection. So instead of saturation velocity, we use injection velocity. Now there's one more parameter here, because at nano scale, we have this work function, right? This the wave nature of these carriers come into the picture. So these waves will have some reflection coefficient. So the transmission coefficient will be 1 minus R by 1 plus R. So we have just included transmission coefficient here to get the actual current. So these are the two equations that are more valid for modern MOSFETs rather than the score-like equation. So because most of the MOSFET now that are fabricated where they are very small in length, so they usually operate in saturation or in the ballistic region. So these equations are linear in terms of Vg minus Vt. So that means if you increase the gate voltage, current will change by the same amount because it's linear with respect to the gate voltage. And this V injection is basically is again related to the random thermal velocity of the carrier at the source, right? So this is basically another second order effect called short channel IV. Then in the sub threshold, when the Vg is less than the threshold voltage, right? That time there is no strong inversion, right? But charge may exist, and that charge is actually small. So for phi psi s is less than 2 psi b, right? But more than psi b, right? That is means weak inversion. So sub threshold is related to the weak inversion. And in that you can write basically n is ni exponential psi s minus psi b by kt. and at the drain end, you will include the VD also there. And the current mechanism, you can say it is basically the diffusion, right? It's not the drift, but the diffusion. So you can basically take the gradient of carriers along the channel from source to the drain. And if you take modify this one, now N0 minus NL, you can include this psi S minus psi B, psi S minus psi B minus VD. If you take psi S minus psi B outside, you will have only QVD by KT. Eh? So you have 1 minus QVD by KT and psi S and psi B here, right? So this is the equation that will look like. Now you have this psi S is basically VG minus VT, right? By KT. Now when short channel length, this VG and VT basically some parameter will be involved because there will be some overlap capacitance with the gate, right? So you have in the actual equation you also include some parameter C here, right? And the C is given by is a function of the capacitance, where Ci is the oxide capacitance, CD is the depletion capacitance, and CID is the interface traps related capacitance. And if you plot this in ID versus VG in sub-threshold region, so this is, let's say, VT. So below VT is the sub-threshold region. You see the current is quite small, but there is a slope, and that slope is basically del I by del VG for logarithmic ID, right? So S is 1 by this slope, right? So higher the slope, del ID by del VG, smaller the S, right? And typically this S is have the value of 70 millivolt per decade. And if you obtain from this equation, you will get around 26 millivolt per decade, right? Per this thing, this del I by del VG around 20. But due to this factor, this is a typical value that we obtain. And the name for this inverse of the slope is sub-threshold swing. So we try to basically minimize this this swing basically, so that there's abrupt increase in current from the threshold voltage. Ideally, we would like to have zero current here, right? And then suddenly increase like this, right? So this is one parameter called sub-threshold swing. Okay. Then if you another thing here is basically this is the oxide capacitance, and this depletion capacitance and the interface trap based capacitance, they are in parallel, right? Because they both operate the charges at the interface here. So interface trap charges are here and depletion charges are here, right? So they are basically have the same voltage across them. And for short channel, what happens, because this channel length is very short, so the field is quite high, and these electron can accelerate to high velocity, right? And when these electrons get high velocity, we call them hot electrons. And in PMOS, we can have hot holes. Now these hot electrons, they can generate electron hole pair, right? And some of these carriers can go to this substrate. So the substrate current actually increases, and that is one of the signature of the short channel effect. And a negative charge can actually go to this oxide, become oxide trap charge. And if it is oxide trap charge, it will increase the threshold voltage, because if you have more charge here, negative charge, it will increase the threshold voltage and it will reduce the transconductance. So to account for this, what we have here, we have lightly doped drain, LDD, lightly doped drain, so that this depletion which is narrower here rather than so big. And this substrate current, we call it this basically punch through, because substrate current is undesirable. And this is more severe in NMOS than in PMOS. There are two reasons for this, because in NMOS mobility is higher, right? So there's a high chance of creating electron hole pair. And moreover, if you see the Venn diagram here, this is oxide, this is silicon. So this band gap is 1.1, right? And this band gap is around 9. Out of this, around 3.1 fps across the this conduction band, around 5 fps across the valence band. So for hole there is a bigger barrier. For electron there is a smaller barrier, right? So these electron going to the crossing the oxide and contributing to the gate current will be less severe in the PMOS than in the NMOS. So this is a short channel effect. Of course, this thin oxide is also part of short channel effect because there may be tunneling current through the gate, right? So ideally there is zero current, but for short channel devices, there may be a gate current due to the tunneling. Then another phenomena in short channel is drain induced barrier lowering, and that actually happens because when channel is short, right? This is long channel, right? So this barrier lowering is there due to the drain voltage. But if the length is short, then this effect can extend up to the source. So then these electrons in the source, they see a barrier which is reduced. And this is called barrier lowering due to the drain. And it's basically effect is basically if this barrier is lowered by the drain, then your gate function is basically compromised because this barrier is supposed to be controlled by the gate. Now drain is controlling it, right? So that basically cause the loss of gate control. And of course, there will be a leakage current, right? And there can be a breakdown if you apply higher voltage. If this becomes flat here or very less here, then there can. So these MOSFETs have to be scaled properly, especially for the short channel diodes, so short channel devices. And another is basically this junction depth, right? So junction depth, this should be shallow because this delta L we discussed, right? Delta L depends on 3 times T oxide times Xj, right? So if this is thick, thin oxide and junction depth is less, then this delta L will also be less, right? So that means your DIVL will be reduced. So generally we use shallow source drain doping. Okay, and another phenomena is basically this delta L, the change in the channel length is called channel length modulation, and that can also be modeled because now L is L minus delta L, so your ID is proportional to 1 by L. So you can write this as 1 by L times 1 plus delta L by L, right? Now delta L by L can be replaced by as a function of Vd times some parameter lambda, right? So this lambda is called channel length modulation parameter. And in saturation, this is ID set. For saturation current, this is W by L half mu n cox Vg minus Vt square times 1 plus lambda Vd. So now in this case, in saturation current is not constant. This some slope is there, right? It is very similar to the base width modulation in the BJT we discussed. We had early voltage, right? So this basically will be 1 by lambda, right? 1 by lambda. So when you have these different, they will join at 1 by lambda. This is IDVDS. So this will basically now your output impedance for flat output impedance was infinite. Now output impedance will be finite, right? So that will, this basically lowers the output impedance. And another factor is basically there is some overlap between the gate and the drain and the source, right? Now source and drain, they are usually identical, so you can use either contact as a source and either contact as a drain. That's not an issue. But even if you use self-aligned gate contact, there can be some diffusion, right? Let's say you have doped it here, right? But due to temperature variation, this N plus can diffuse here, right? So it actually comes below the gate, right? So here there is no P type silicon. Here below the gate is N type silicon. And this overlap basically causes the drain gate induced drain leak. Now how that happens? Now this oxide is quite thin, right? So these electrons here can tunnel to the drain, right? So that will increase the drain current. Now this tunneling will take place only when this bending is enough so that you see a conduction bend here. That means this bending, the psi s, is more than the bend gap, right? If this bending is more than the bend gap, then you will see those carries a tunneling here, right? And if the slope, okay, there are two possibilities, right? You consider the doping, right? Now, if the drain doping is small, right, then the depletion width is quite large. So this tunneling will not take place. If doping is too high, right, then also this psi s will be less than Eg. Most of the voltage will come across the gate region only. So if this is less than Eg, then they cannot tunnel to the bend gap. So it actually happens with the moderate doping. So it is this phenomena occurs at the moderate doping. Okay. There are of course other things also that you can use high gate dielectric, right? Then newer structures have come like FinFET, right? Or gate all around. Those things they have come up. We are not going to discuss them in detail, but this is basically the status as of now. And with this, we have completed our discussion on MOSFET. So let's summarize. So we have discussed the transfer characteristic, output characteristic. Transfer characteristic is ID versus VG. Output characteristics ID versus VDS. Then we have discussed the universal mobility curve, and that is basically the mobility degradation due to the gate voltage. Then we have discussed the short channel effect. We have also discussed the equivalent circuit or AC equivalent circuit, high frequency effect. Then we have discussed the body effect. Then sub-threshold current, we discussed the one parameter, sub-threshold swing, and then drain induced barrier lowering due to the drain voltage in short channel. It's only observed in short channel devices. And you can also look in terms of, let's say this is very short and you have a gate voltage here. Then if you see the depletion region, right, and then your drain voltage here, then there's some kind of charge sharing is there. Not all the charge below the gate is controlled by the gate. The charge near the source and drain end is controlled by the source drain biases also, right? So that model is also responsible for some of the phenomena. And then we also discuss the gate induced drain leakage. So with that we complete our discussion. Thank you very much.